welcome to Between Two Coaches. We're on a mission to make fitness more human, snark sold separately. I am, of course, Coach Amanda Katz, and I am joined by my co-host.
It's me, Nick Listava. I am the co-host, and thank you so much for joining us. This is episode 7. We're on a journey, and we're loving it. We have a great episode today. We're going to talk about, red and green flags in hiring coaches, and just a little bit about coaching. We're going to give out some listener love. We're going to read a review. We're gonna answer some questions, and we're gonna air some grievances. But first,
we're going to be here for 6 hours tonight.
It's going to be the longest episode ever, I feel like. Probably not. But first, we're going to hop into some real life stuff because I think that's fun.
You got to give the people an update on your frog station.
Yeah, I do. They're back. So they left for a couple days and things were looking up in my life. But then they came back. And I shared a story last night that most people were like, that sounds like Jurassic Park or the Amazon rainforest. Both are viable options. It could be. I actually don't know.
I asked if it was dial-up internet. It was bringing me back to a time.
Yeah, they're loud. We can also hear them in my kids' rooms, but I don't make mention of it because I don't want them to notice it and then cause a whole nother thing. If they don't hear it...
You don't think they notice the noises?
I haven't said it yet, right? So there's a difference. If you point it at, if you put it in your kid's head, then it's a thing. If they just notice it and don't say anything, then you're okay for a little bit. So no solutions yet.
This is why Nick's the parent and I am not.
I've been looking up stuff. I looked up about gigantic frogs, which end up being the size of basically babies. So they're like 7-pound
like
frogs.
Human babies, not...
Yeah, like human babies. And so those are a thing. They're primarily not in America, but I'm assuming those are the ones that are going to be in my backyard. So I don't know. We're learning. We're surviving. I bought myself a new alarm clock / white noise machine to solve the problem. So I'm back to having some noise to cancel out the frogs.
Very solution oriented, this guy.
I'll buy anything if it fixes my problems.
Well, it seems like the thoughts and prayers I sent to you last week are effective. So,
well, they didn't do anything. I just bought something to fix it. So it was more of like me and nothing that you
your
did.
Thoughts,
my thoughts, and my prayers
and your
and
prayers.
My wallet. Yeah. But we'll see. Maybe they'll be leaving soon. I don't know.
Okay, I'm almost happy for you. Not yet, but we're coming close. I see the light at the end of the pond.
What about you? I heard you had some fun things going on last week.
Yeah, I did. It was so our sister podcast, Train Smart Run Strong. Is that the name of their podcast? It is, right?
That is. Vicky wanted to stay very on brand, she said.
She sure did. So Dr. Vicky and Treg, Treg and I are besties now, by the way.
Oh, that's exciting.
Real besties. So she brought up the fact that I had posted some Brooks for folks to purchase because they had asked me about the different things I was wearing in an outfit. And in case you're new here, I'm in the Brooks Running Collective. So I am sponsored by Brooks, and I really, really loved the brand before, and I love them now. And she didn't ask about my outfit. She asked about where I got my tattoo, which...
Well, you did a little fashion show, right?
I didn't really do a fashion... Well, yesterday I did, but the photo of me pointing out, like, oh, here, guys, this is where the sports bra is from. This is the shorts. She was like, but where'd you get your tattoo? So in light of that, shout out to them. In light of that, I did also, just by chance, happen to be getting, the day after I listened to their podcast from last week, I did get another tattoo.
Another tattoo. What is this one of?
This one is the two Fridas.
Oh.
This is not great for anyone to... I don't know that we're skilled enough yet to like insert an image here.
We are not. Yeah, but for all the people listening at home, Amanda is showing her arm, and there are drawings.
There's
on
there are doodles on it. You can see them upside down.
Yep.
These are the two Fridas. So drawing by Frida Kahlo, that I've always felt incredibly connected with as somebody who comes from multiple cultures. And one of the interpretations of that piece from her is her multiple cultures, her mother being Mexican and her father being German. So I don't know where I'm going. We were talking about frogs and now we're talking about
Yeah.
tattoos. And the reason why Treg brought up the tattoo was because on my leg, I'm definitely not going to stand up for this, but if you're on the gram, I'll share it with you.
For everyone listening at home, she is standing up now.
It is after 5 p.m. My ass is down. It's down for the night. It's an outline of the New York City Marathon, which is my first love, New York City and first marathon.
Is that so when your athletes run the race, you can tell them the elevation chart by looking at your leg?
You can't tell that. You can definitely see the course though. And somebody is a runner when they see me in short. It's only visible if I'm wearing shorts. If you see me in shorts and they're like, that's the New York City Marathon route. And everyone else, it's like, is there a piece of thread stuck to your leg? Close.
Close. Well, we love new tattoos, and that's exciting.
We do. Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
maybe this is how my parents will find out. Yep.
But segue is we can talk about the New York City Marathon to talking about all this Boston, a little segue here. I learned from the best Treg on segues. But a little segue here about some drama regarding the Boston Marathon and just some elitism in this sport, and people talking about how they now clarifying their marathons as non-training run marathons where they didn't train for it, but they did secretly. Just a lot of stuff going on. But so Boston Marathon cut off. So a little bit, we kind of want to touch on that a little bit just because there's a 6-hour cutoff for the Boston Marathon. It's been there for a long time. I think what has happened in this sport is we're being more inclusive, and we have this 6-star amazing thing for running all the world majors, and people can now get into Boston when they need their 6-star, and you can apply in different ways, and you can get in through sponsors or through just having a large following or whatever it is, right? Lots of people are getting in different ways, and that's exciting. That's great. More people running is awesome for the sport, but this cutoff always has existed. And now it becomes a problem when more people are let in because they're really holding true to it and saying, okay, well, this is our number and we're going to take away your medal. Like reading the stories about how people finished 500 or so after the cutoff and either got medals or didn't, or got their 6-star and then we're told they're not officially on the website. Like it's just a storm of unnecessary drama that doesn't need to exist, that always seems to follow on Boston because
a problematic organization.
Well,
let's just yeah.
All right.
There's some issues with like racism.
Yeah, definitely that for sure.
Right.
But and I think like
there's nothing wrong. So my issue, I should say, that the reason why I sounded a little salty, other than the fact that any organization that is not supporting all people is not great in my book. The two areas that I'm seeing highlighted the most on the web and the internet from runners, there can be a cutoff time, but how well is it communicated? How clear are they on the folks in the last wave knowing what time they cross that start line to hitting that finish? Is that clearly communicated? Because it appears that it's not. Because if it was, I don't know that there'd be so many questions around it. And furthermore, how runners of a certain pace, mainly fast runners, are talking about slower runners is incredibly problematic. And that right there is my issue with it. That there are folks who feel like they are, I guess, God of hobby jogging and feel as though they can put down other runners based on their pace when they're very much able to run. And it just perpetuates this message that running is not for everyone. And that's that bullshit.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I came from this sport from, I'll call it the elite side. Like I was a front pack runner, I've had some very good races. I'm genetically blessed, right, in some regards. And like I only saw the sport a lot of my early career from that lens. but never felt
Well,
like,
okay. Hold on. This is where I have to give Coach Nick his let his card slide across the table. You may be genetically blessed, but you worked your ass off.
yeah, no, I agree. But I mean, everyone who works their ass off doesn't necessarily get the same results, right? And so
Yeah.
that's the point I'm sort of getting at. Like, and so, I saw this sport very differently early on, and then I came to it and started coaching and started like just seeing everyday runners. And I've always had appreciation for anyone who runs is a runner, right? I always want to call someone an athlete who's out there running and
Mm-hmm.
chasing their potential and chasing their goals, like because they are, right? This is an athletic sport. But like, I always see people who like randomly set up these barriers of, gatekeeping. Like, oh, you haven't broken three, you can't speak on this, you can't coach someone who hasn't. If you haven't done it yourself, you can't coach someone to do that. Oh, you haven't BQ'd, like you're not a relevant figure in this sport. And like, just and it's always like time goals. It's 4 hours, 3 hours, whatever it is, and it's always just building around this idea of like gatekeeping people from feeling included in the sport. And I feel like
Mm-hmm.
a lot of runners don't ever see what it's like on the other side and see that like it is hard to be, no matter how long you're running, like you're still working hard. Like, fueling requirements for someone running 5 hours is very different than someone running 2.5 hours. So like they have a whole
100%.
nother battle going on. And so I don't understand why we always have to put these labels of like, oh, if you don't do this, you're not this in this sport. Why we're always keeping people down and away when like we want this sport to grow. The more people, whether it's, I'm just gonna say influencers or like anyone who gets a bib in a certain way or charity runners, like the more people that go out and run a marathon, the better this sport is for everyone. The more people who can make this sport, some sort of financial job for themselves, which means more content and more things are available for us as runners. That is cool. Like, a long time ago in this sport, a ton of years ago, like it was just, there was marathons, there was let's run message boards, and like that was the epitome of running, right? And so like it's come a long way to there's like brands who like talk about running every day, and you and I are doing a podcast about running, and like all this stuff exists because more people are doing it. And the more we put people down for not, I feel like it's just setting ourselves back and making people not want to be a part of this sport or not feel like they can be a part of it.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I always try to remind people, those who are critiquing you based on your pace, your body, your weight, your finishing time, your splits, that's not a you problem. That's a them problem. And to look at communities that normalize the messaging that you want in your life, which is, I want to run and running is for me just because I want to do it. So when Nick says we, he means us and the circles we vibe in, I believe are perpetuate that wonderful mission. But for the trolls who live under the bridges, who are critiquing others' abilities, mind your business. Book your therapy session. You can do those things at the same time.
You can. Yeah. One stop shopping. But yeah, so that was sort of our point on that. We just wanted to touch on that a little bit. Do you want to move on to some listener love and get to our question of the day of the
Oh, I would
podcast?
love that. I would love that. Listener love. So this is a shout out to Run Like AK Boss, AKBOS.
Yeah.
That's like AK Boss to me. AK Boss. Or a Kaboss. I'm not sure. So her question was about, she was curious about our experience, being Nick and I, of a male coach with female athletes and vice versa. Do you coach? And the answer is yes.
Mm-hmm.
Nick coaches female identifying athletes. I coach male identifying athletes. And I'll start by saying that what I love about my male identifying is that I have to ask more questions and peel away a little bit more at the layers. So we have this great communication where like they'll share something with me. I'll be like, tell me more about that. Whereas I've noticed that not all my female identifying athletes, but a lot of them are much more open. There's less of that. There's less TMI, which I like. Like the more I know, the better I can be as a coach to them. And if I can't help them, which we're going to address later in our topic today, I'm always like, I don't know, but let's find somebody to support you. Whereas with my male identifying athletes, by and large, I'm like, you have to peel away a little bit and then we get to it.
Yeah. Similar experience. My male identifying athletes definitely tend to share a little less. I definitely have to sort of beat it out of them and find out what's going on and just sort of be like, hey, how are your runs going? They'll do the runs, obviously, but like finding out more details is always a little bit harder. With my female identifying athletes, it's more of like I am getting every detail, which is great, and I love it, and they share a lot. And so I have a lot more female identifying athletes than male identifying athletes, and so for me it's more, I feel like it's two things. One, it's parents, a lot of moms work with me, and I think they see that I have two kids and how I balance my sport and such, and I think that sort of, they want that sort of support and ability to find how to do the work, and sort of look for me for that guidance to help them through that. And then I think my a lot of even my audience on Instagram is more female identifying leaning, so I think it's just sort of like the empathetic and sensitive person I am sort of brings that sort of audience. People sort of see that that's like the vibe I'm pushing as a coach and how I work with my athletes. And a lot of my close friends are females. I think that just sort of comes who I am a little bit more too. But for me, it's a lot of understanding. There's things I don't know about being a female in today's world, and understanding that, like, when I see things a certain way, it's like understanding I have this, male bias of coming through the world with a different like lens of how everything goes, and sort of always trying to like take a step back and understanding what they're saying and what they're going through, and how some things maybe are a little more difficult, and trying my best to support them through that. Always just sort of trying to put myself in someone else's shoes, even if I can't always empathize exactly with everything about it, but at least understanding it and responding accordingly.
That's a superpower.
Thanks. I try. Maybe.
You try, and
Yeah.
probably some of it comes naturally to you. It can be both.
Yeah. So that's like my angle. Interestingly enough, one of the things for my own journey is I've had male coaches all my life for running, and probably even before running and other sports like soccer and stuff. But I stopped working with my coach a couple months ago because I was going through my injury and just wanted to take some time myself. So I have found myself very interested in finding a female coach to help me on my journey ahead, just for reasons of like, I think I want to, have that sort of support in my life and see how it impacts me and how I can vibe with it. And just so like, I have been searching, nowhere yet, but finally not being as injured as I was and having aspirations of a fall marathon. That's been like on top of my mind of like, that would be really fun for my journey.
I love that for you.
Thanks.
Women support Nick. Get the hashtag trending and shoot your shot, ladies. Shoot your shot.
Hit up my DMs if you're
Slide
interested.
in the DM.
Well, that was a great question. I really
love
liked
that question.
I think there are differences. I think it's important if you're, of the opposite gender, just to have some understanding that you don't know everything about what it's like, but like you could still be a supportive coach and sort of listen.
Here for that.
Well, we have a review to read. This is exciting. So we're going to do our first review read. Thank you so much. This is from KJH092886. They wrote, I was already a mega Amanda Katz, aka coach, aka bad B bones builder, but this podcast has taken my love to a whole nother level and expanded to Nick Listava too. That's me. I absolutely love their chemistry and so appreciative of the style with which they share their expertise. So many of fitness focused podcasts can feel either sterile or clinical or elitist or condescending. I love these two are so committed to meeting people where they're currently at and call out harmful BS in the fitness community that might fly under the radar. This was an automatic subscribe after just the first episode. Bravo. Well, thank you so much. That is so sweet.
Queen.
That is like,
Queen.
Yeah, that's everything we were trying to Well, Amanda and I took some time when I finally convinced her to make a podcast with me after manifesting it for months, and we wrote down like mission statements, and we wrote down like what we really wanted out of this, and like we thought it was important to like get on the same page and really have our, idea set. And everything written in there was literally what is written in our mission statement and our like longer statements. So it's great that like what we
Girl, are
wanted
you
to
in
do.
our Google Doc?
Yeah, and it's like great like what we
Girl.
wanted to portray is like, showing up and people are seeing it. That's so cool.
Shout out to you, whoever you are. Slide in the DM and let us know.
Yes, definitely let us know. But that was so sweet, and send it more reviews. We'll definitely read them. We love this. This makes us. We were both so touched by this review. So thank you so much.
High fives. High fives all around. Is it time to. Yes. Is it time to talk about a topic?
It could be.
All right. So I think it can be. So today we're going to talk about, as Coach Nick shared in the beginning, 22 minutes ago ish, red and green flags for coaches. And we'll also speak to hiring, things to look out for, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I think it'd be great for us to start with, what is coaching?
Yeah.
Why hire a coach? What is the difference?
Yeah, I think that's we haven't done that really yet. And like, if we want to get into red and green flags, I think we should at least let the audience what we think coaching is. And so, I think the first thing to level set in coaching is, I think a lot of people just think it's numbers in a log, right? And they're like, I can program my own runs. I know I do 30 miles a week, and I know I do a speed workout, and I'll do some double digit long run. I'm good. So I'm not going to like, or they're like, I'm not going to listen, or I'm not going to follow a plan. So like, why have a coach, right? And those are valid sometimes reasons. It's so much more than numbers in a log. For starters, it's, you're basically you're hiring the biggest cheerleader you could ever have in your life, right? Like someone who's going to root for you, someone who's going to understand you, and running, right? I think a lot of times in life we don't have someone who understands our passion towards running. We might say, hey, I don't know if I feel like running today, and someone will be like, don't run. It's like, well, that's okay, but like, having a coach who understands your passion and your sport and you and what you're going through, can frame that answer a little differently in a supportive manner of letting it could be okay to rest, but like, we understand why this matters to you. Having someone, it's like having your own therapist almost, but like in the sense of having someone who is listening to you talk about running, talk about your love for it, support you through running. Like, just, you can say whatever you want, and your coach is there to be there and support and like encourage you to chase those goals, right? I think those are like big things right off the top of my head of like, why running, why coaching, what is this bringing value to?
I also want to make sure we touch upon outside of running. So why hire a personal trainer? So when we say coach today, a lot of the times it's going to be the same definition, a personal trainer and a coach, because the rules should really apply to both. Same profession, different modalities. I totally agree with Nick. And as somebody who is a personal trainer, all of that applies to us. And I would add that maybe you're hiring a coach because you're following strength training plan, for example, but you don't feel inspired enough to do said strength training.
Yeah.
And you're looking for somebody to not only give you feedback, but hold you accountable and show you that there is more to getting stronger than the reps and the sets, and what you end up becoming capable of in a stronger body as a result of strength training. My favorite moment last week was when one of my clients, shout out to Sarah. Fun fact, I have several Sarahs on my roster.
All right, Sarah.
So one of the Sarahs remaining anonymous just by being named Sarah. Sarah shared with me her DEXA scan. Ooh. And that right there, that was like, this is immaculate. Look at the strength training at work.
That's so you can see results.
Look at the
that aren't results
at work.
Yeah,
like that's the PR for me. So it's to what Nick's saying earlier. It's not only cheerleading you, but showing you that the sport that you're engaging in with your trainer or coach is perhaps so much more than just the log. It's that that you initially thought it would be.
Yes, and so I do use running a lot, but I do mean fitness. I do need personal training. Like it's just my a lot of my energy goes into running. Just to
Do
put that out
you?
there. But I think to everything you said, at the end of the day, a coach, personal trainer, a journey is about transformation, right? You're transforming someone on a journey, right? They're going on a hero's journey. They're going through all the steps, all the journey, all the barriers and everything to get to this state at the end, right? And that is, the state isn't a PR. The state isn't some number on a clock or on some weights or in cycling, whatever it is. That's not the end state. The end state is you transform and become something different because of sport, because of working with someone who's on your team, and because you learn and grow through so much, right? And so I that's what you're getting, like, at the end of the day. Like, that's what this journey is all about. It's not just, we'll get into more of it, but like, there are things that coaches guarantee that they can't, and there are
Mm-hmm.
things that this journey isn't about that coaches want to convince you it is. And those are the things we're going to tell you to stay away from.
Yes.
Yeah, I think this summarizes coaching a lot for us. I think we nailed it.
We nailed it. We nailed it. They are coaching good coaches. Okay. Sneak peek to our green flags. Good coaches coach the whole human. So now
Yeah.
I suppose we should start out with the red flags.
Oh,
That
we'll
way
do
we end
red.
on a high note.
Yeah, we
You
do
know what
like
I
we don't want to
mean?
end on a negative note. That'd be bad.
I mean, we could, but why would we?
Yeah,
That's just not who we
we're
are.
a positive crew of people.
Between two green coaches.
Ooh, I like that.
It's
Red's
a
my favorite. To
series.
be fair, red's my favorite color, which is more leaning negative.
Same. It's a
But
power color,
yeah, but it also
honestly.
leans to the negative because that's how you use
For
red.
this, it's yeah. For this, it's that.
But anyway, red flags. So my first one is, at the end of the day, I know every plan and every coach probably has some level of communication built into the structure, right? But there's always communication because there's no way you can train or coach someone without having communication. But a red flag off the bat is, as you work with a coach, if you feel less communicated, less rooted for, your accomplishments feel less cheered on because of your pace, because of your numbers, because of what you're doing, it doesn't resonate enough with the coach to value you, right? And I think it's a very easy, athletes see it, right? It's not, you're not making it up in your head if you feel less communicated. And by less communicated, I mean there is a set standard of communication. You have agreement between you and your coach, and they're not honoring that because you aren't achieving what their other athletes are achieving. That is a big red flag because that sort of means that they are treating you as if you're only a valuable to them because of your results. It gets
Hmm.
this whole ego side of coaching where a lot of coaches, treat coaching as if their ego is on display for how well their athletes run, how well their athletes perform, how well they listen to them. And that is a giant red flag. All this is lumped into this idea of communication and feeling less valued
Hmm.
because of your pace, anything regarding the modality with the coach.
Yes, yes. I will just briefly add that including feeling you feel communicated to less because of your pace, or you feel to less or more on and regarding your weight or size.
Yes, that's a
So
good
if
addition.
a coach is over communicating certain areas of what they perceive fitness to be, for example, I would, if you hear a coach saying look fit or you look healthy, that's a red fucking flag. The fitness industry is good and well that there is not an aesthetic to health and that being fit and looking fit are not the same thing. It just perpetuates this idea that fitness equals thinness or shrinking oneself or simply losing weight. It reduces what fitness is, regardless of your modality. So I loved I think we just expanded that little communication piece a bit.
Yeah, we
It's
did.
also what they're saying.
Yeah, we did. And your point, I mean, it's a good addition. I mean, I think a lot of the times that
I
word
know.
is used of saying, like you look fit, and like they really mean you look skinny,
Right.
and
They
like
mean we can see muscles on you,
yes,
and
and
you do not know what somebody's health is based on visibly seeing muscles on them.
that has nothing to do with anything. Fitness isn't, there's no look to fitness. And so yes, having, this has been a systemic problem, especially in running, where coaches have, used body composition machines or just weighed athletes in front of other athletes. Hope it's happening. I'm not naive enough to say it's not happening, but I really hope it's happening a lot less in high school and colleges, and even in pro sports. But there's still stories that come out every once in a while that sort of get swept under the rug that this is happening, and it's some coach who's been there for 25 years, and so yeah, don't do that. That's a red flag. If you, and it just makes you feel shitty. So don't feel like you need to take this abuse from someone who's supposed to be supporting you by treating you differently because of your pace, your look, whatever.
The next one I would say is a red flag is any trainer or coach, any run coach or personal trainer, again, synonymous for this conversation, who claims that one modality is superior to another. Like running is better, cycling is better than dancing, is better, or a HIIT class is better than lifting heavy, or vice versa. They're usually trying to sell the modality they're specialized in, when we know all workouts provide a unique experience to different folks. It's good. Take endurance, they serve a purpose when you're coming back from an injury, or when a trainer is attempting to sell why their tough workout is better. So in this instance, I see this a lot in group fitness when I'm teaching and offering different options for exercises. I've heard other group fitness instructors refer to as less than the initial exercise, like a regression. And regression makes it sound like the exercise is better, but it's not. I often say harder is not better. It's just different. So that's another, for me, red flag.
Yeah, and it happens. I mean, it happens a lot in running. People feel like running is the only way to get faster, and while running is the primary focus, there is cross training, and cross training has a ton of value. There's a lot of athletes who become incredibly fit running as a running athlete, cross training 2 or 3 days a week because they get a lot of gains. I think people don't understand how much cross training helps certain athletes. Not every athlete, but like adding in 2 or 3 spin days a week, cycling days, hard cycling days a week, and replacing 2 runs sometimes has increased people fitness tenfold, like, and to get them to levels they can't get to because their body can't support the running. Or adding in lifting, so many runners skip lifting because it just makes them tired for their runs. No, and so, but it's not only runners doing it, it's coaches pushing that. Oh, you're tired, skip your run, skip your lift. Oh no, don't, you need to run 6 days a week to chase your goals. Running coaches do this all the time, where they think the only way to success is run all the time. If you're doing, start athletes at 4 days a week, they move them to 6 because more runs are better. Cross training is perfectly fine in running, and any modality is a way of moving your body is helpful for you. Yes, if you're a specific athlete to a specific sport, maybe more of that is beneficial than the others, but the doing other movements is incredibly helpful to help you, and if nothing else, still find joy. As long as you like them. Don't aqua jog in the pool if you literally hate it because you're like, well, this will make me better. Like, sure, it might make you better, but it also make you fucking miserable. So, like, you don't have to suffer through things
Unless
you're like.
aqua jogging is your thing.
Yeah, I'm saying if it makes you miserable, you don't have to do it. Like,
Correct. Right. Right.
that was my point. No, but that's a good one. My last red flag is, and I sort of alluded to this earlier, coaches, fitness trainers, we're just going to say coaches, but we both know it means both things, but coaches who tell you they can guarantee you a result. Run away. Just run. Keep running. Never stop running. No one can guarantee you anything. And if they do, they're lying. And there's one thing to be encouraged to someone and saying they have a goal and you say, I think you can hit that goal. That's encouraging. That's supportive. Another thing to say, you're whoever you're working with stinks. I can guarantee you can hit that pinnacle. I can guarantee you can do that. I can guarantee you'll be the best at whatever. No, like, you can't guarantee anything.
The weight is just going to come off.
Yeah.
If you just increase your protein and land yourself on the Stairmaster for 7.5 hours. Just gonna fall off. These are actual words I've heard trainers say. Like, the weight's just gonna fall off if you just increase your protein. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Who? Are you Madam Chloe? Like, what's up with you, Troy?
And it's like, so like I sort of said, like, be supportive of athletes' goals, encourage them to chase their big scary goals, but don't, when you hear someone telling you they can guarantee you this or they can guarantee that if you leave this person, or why this person's doing all these things wrong and they'll guarantee you'll be better, like, that is not them giving you anything other than them saying, I think I'm the best. My ego is bigger than your coach's currently, or my ego is bigger than yours. Listen to me and you'll succeed. But at the end of the day, they can't guarantee you'll run anything. They can train you, and they can train you differently. It doesn't guarantee that you will achieve the result you want, but it will help the coach feel better about themselves if you listen to them and, fall for their trap.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Off of that, I have two last red flags.
Oh.
Shocking. One of them is related to what you just said. Trainers working outside their scope of practice. So this is kind of lending itself to, I can guarantee I have the answer. I know what to do. When it comes to things like, I can fix that injury, or I can prescribe you a meal plan, or I can analyze your blood work. No, sir, no, ma'am. That's outside your trainer, your coach's scope of practice, unless they're practicing in that area and they're a credentialed professional. They're not the one. We'll go into green flags after. But the last red flag.
Oh, wait. I want to touch on that one.
Touch it.
Yeah.
Touch it. Just a little tickle.
So, you see it a lot, right? In this world of growing social media where, someone, whether they want to or not, they start gaining a lot of followers and like, I want to be a coach because I got to monetize my following, right? And then all of a sudden they get more followers and like, oh, I need a second modality. Now I'm a nutrition coach or a strength coach. And
now I sell waist trainers.
Yeah. And it's like, I gotta increase my monetization more. And that's okay. Like, being nutrition coach is a thing that exists and it's okay. They're not claiming to be registered dietitians, but where I'm getting at with this is what you're sometimes being sold is someone's packaged up as a coaching package. Well, when I run workouts, I do this. So I'm going to give you these exact workouts. And if you do them, you'll succeed. And if you don't, I don't know what to do because I'm just packaging my entire journey to you. You eat the same foods I eat. You will get as, you'll look, as air quotes, lean as me, and you'll be as fit as me.
I am above science.
Yeah. And like, I know everything because I'm just packaging my experience to you. Experience is not coaching. So having experience being a coach is a different thing than taking your own running experience and saying, this is why I'd be a good coach to you because I run fast or because I eat food a lot. Like, that is just being repackaged. Someone else's,
you having a fork is not a credential, Sam.
Something a fork. I'm dying.
It's ridiculous.
So just like, that's a lot around these same lines of like people who say they can do it all without the credentials, but they're really just selling you what they do themselves, and what they do themselves might not even be right, but now they're just selling it to everyone because they look successful in their own journey, and that's, now they're a coach, a nutrition coach, because anyway, yes, right on board with that one.
My last but certainly not least is, any time a trainer or a coach starts spewing diet culture talk, if they're selling this via before and after spot reduction, I mentioned waist trainers, detox juices, pushing supplements they make coin from, that's that bullshit. It's not only low-key, sneaky, LZ, and lazy, but it's offensively inaccurate because the math does not math this way when it comes to fitness and the human body. As an instructor, I still hear other instructors using earn and burn lingo, and I'm really unclear what year they are living in or if they've read a book. In my classes or with my clients, aside from promoting consuming enough calories and being fueled, there is no food or diet talk. As a fitness professional, it's not relevant. It's often how false claims are made. And as we were saying before, it's outside my scope of practice. And frankly, it's lazy coaching.
Absolutely agree. I have had athletes talk about going on, being with registered dietitians, and talking about diet culture while they're training hard for races. And to me, I'm just like, this math isn't mathing, and I feel concerned about how hard I can push you while this is the messaging you're getting elsewhere. But as a coach, sometimes it's okay to see these things and understand that you're worried about these things too, right? On the flip side. So while not having that conversation you're saying, but being aware of what's not making sense and being supportive and standing that to help your athlete too. And then I lied. I did have one more.
Wow,
I
this episode is giving very much crimson.
Yeah, it's very red flaggy. But I did have one more. It doesn't too long. I sort of touched on it, but just like the last red flag is coaches who measure their own worth by the results of their athletes. And again, nuanced in the sense of if you see an athlete promoted, like cheering for their athletes and rooting for their successes, that is one thing. Every coach should do that. It is encouraging, it helps supportive. It is another thing when when coaches act like the athletes getting the results because of them, which is absolutely always wrong.
Yes.
That is the ego. Sorry, Tony, this isn't about you. That's the ego going on. It is. And it ends up being that coaches put all this pressure on the athlete that doesn't need to be there because the coach is measuring their own worth as a coach by the results of their athlete. They need their athletes to run a PR so they'll look good, and then other athletes will come to them. No, like athletes aren't coming to you because of the results of your, new athletes aren't coming to you because of the results of your current athletes. And if they are, they're probably the wrong athletes because then they're only coming to you expecting the same results. They want to come to someone for all the reasons we mentioned earlier. And so when coaches act like they need success from you for their own self-worth, they create an extra pressure dynamic on you to perform, or they won't provide certain things back. And they don't say that, but meaning like you may not get the same respect back, you may not get the same things back earlier because they need this success and you're not providing it for them. So it's very clear to see these coaches. You can see a very worded response from a coach about an athlete who performed well and how they're rooting for them, or you can see how the coach is sort of taking responsibility for creating that result for the athletes. No coach's journey is ever about the latter. No coach should ever be talking about that. They created anything. They supported their athlete and they achieved this on their own. We're just here in their corner.
Agree more with your red flag. Is it time to go green?
Let's go green. Let's get some happiness.
Go green. If you feel like you've been under a dark or low cloud, it's about to lift the fuck up for you. Okay? So, first green flag from me, and we'll pass it back and forth, is a good coach. Green flag, they meet the person where they're at. I think one of the biggest reasons why runners and fitness enthusiasts have a tough time with meeting their fitness where it's at today, whether it's in training or rehabbing an injury, it's comparison to their previous selves and others. And so to have somebody in your corner to be like, hey, Nick, look at how much you've accomplished. Let's give you some grace and remember who the fuck you are, sir.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
That feels good.
Yeah, see how green that felt?
Felt real green.
It's emeralds.
It's giving emeralds. Yes, exactly. Meeting people where they're at is so important. And because as I mentioned earlier, like some of my in earlier episodes, like my struggle as an athlete has been, I always, when I came back to running, I tried to train where I used to be. So that's where an athlete's going to go. It left to their own devices, an athlete is going to be like, I want to be here. I used to be here. I'm going to train there. So when you hire a coach, if the coach continues to like say that's the right way and pushes you in that direction, like you're also going to go that way and it's going to end up poorly. So you need the coach to be the voice of guidance to be like, well, we're not there yet. We'll work our way there. I'm going to meet you where you're at. And also like give you that encouragement along the way of like the growth you're showing. Right. So that's sort of leading to my green flag, which is like they listen to what you want and make a plan around that. Right. And so I think another thing, coaches sometimes have an idea of what is right for you and they're going to push you in that direction because again, back to that ego. It's about them. Sometimes my athletes ask me, what should I do next, or what should my goals? And I always push it back on them, like, what do you want to do, right? Like, what excites you? Because like I could tell you what to do, but if you don't like that, then what does it matter? Like, I will give you advice, obviously, but I want you to sort of feel out what you do so I can make a plan around that. If you don't want to run a marathon this year, don't run a marathon this year. I don't care because social media makes it seem like you have to. Like, don't. Nothing's gonna ruin your path. Like, if you're like, well, I just PR'd a marathon, now I need to run another one to capitalize on that. Do you want to? Not really. Then don't. Right? So help listening to people and really listening, because the signs are always there. An athlete is telling you what they want, even if they're not directly telling you what they want. I mean, that's literally the code of being a human being and being able to interpret what people mean and listen. So, coaches have a luxury of getting a lot of information from athletes. They're always dumping. They're dumping in their logs. They're telling you what they need and dumping it in a fun way. We want that feedback because that's how we know. But
we want those 3 to 6 pounds in your notes.
But it helps us know what you really want, because most of the time when you ask you how you're doing, they just say good, but then their running log is like 7 paragraphs long. Their run, when you ask them, their run was good. So we need those details to know it was it was good, but here's all of the fears and anxiety they have around their current fitness. But anyway, like listening, communicating, like that is a super important thing. Like making sure your coach can not only listen but communicate to you in a way you understand too, right? And communication is a two-way street, but sometimes coaches make things so complicated, like a workout that has 46 steps. And when like it doesn't need to be that complicated, I could give you 3 steps and it would be like a almost identical workout. But you don't have to be like, okay, well now I do this many seconds at this many reps and this many seconds at this lifting weight. Like, no, it could just be simpler. Simple is smart and simple is effective. So communication and listening and just making the plan around what you want. That's a green flag to me.
Love that flag. That's a fave flag for me. I was speaking about this earlier, but trainers who can admit they don't know. I think that if you come to your trainer or your coach about something and they can honestly say to you, I don't know the answer to that, but I'm happy to help find the answer. That means that they have a robust referral network. Maybe they're going to interact with other personal trainers or other run coaches that have experience working in that area. It's again an ego driven thing. Somebody has all the answers or they're unwilling to change their opinion when new information is provided. That goes back to the red flag column. So you want to work with people who are going to tell you if they don't know something, but they will work their ass off to help you get to the answer that you need to be successful.
Yes. Green flag there. It is so important to, like, I think coaches are, sometimes it's not always ego. I think coaches are scared to sometimes say they don't know. Like they're supposed to know everything. If an athlete thinks you're supposed to know everything, like, again, I don't know any athlete who does, but like,
that's true. It's like, it's an insecurity.
So like you want to be their leader, so you want to know everything, and sometimes we don't, and that's okay. Like I do say to my athletes constantly, like, I don't know. When it comes to nutrition, I say that's not my lane, but I can help you get answers or provide you someone who can crush it for you. But asking and like being able to say I don't know, I will find out. Like that's super important. Let your athletes know that you don't know everything, because you don't, and also that you're willing to get the answers, and also that like you're listening, right? And you're not just going to make up something and be like, oh, this is blah blah blah. Like, don't do that. That's even worse. Dropping your ego, drop the insecurity of feeling like you're letting them down because you don't know the answer in the moment, and getting the answer, right? And just being prepared for those things, because when you get that answer, the next athlete asks you, you're going to have it forever, and you'll always be able to provide that information to future athletes. So learning as coaches. But I think your other point of like, it's good to know when an athlete says or coach says I don't know, and they're going to get the answer. If they do have a robust network, right? That's something a coach should do. Like you should be out there learning from others, creating a community of people who support, creating people you can send your athletes to, having friends in this, peers, friends in the running fitness community.
You should be continuing to educate yourself as a fitness professional in your modality. You're a forever student.
Yes. So always learning.
You, the coach, not the
Because
client.
science is changing. I mean, it does
Mm-hmm.
change, despite what some people feel like about science. But last green flag for me is it's sort of along this, but they give guidance based on facts and science and not their own journey. And so, a little cheating here because I had a red flag that was sort of on this lane. But I think it is very important in a green flag when you see a coach who is giving you information, has the facts, has the science. Well, I think another thing right on this line is that sometimes athletes want to know more. I have a lot of curious athletes, and they always feel I feel like they feel like they can't ask, or they feel scared to ask. And sometimes I think it's trauma from previous coaches who made them feel like, I'm in charge, you don't ask the questions. For me, I want any athlete to ask. If you want to ask why we're doing something a certain way, I don't take offense. I'm not like, how dare you ask me? I'm the coach. I'm more like, okay, I would love to teach you. I want my athletes to go. I've had athletes who've become coaches from working with me, and I'm like, go off. That's great. I want you to, like, if you're learning some bits and pieces from me and you're going to take that, and like, that's super cool. And so giving guidance and facts and science and just not your own journey, but like being able to share that with your athletes when they ask and when they want to know why you're doing a thing a certain way. It also helps them give confidence themselves if they know why you're doing it. A lot of athletes do get confidence when they understand your methods and ways and why you're doing it versus like, oh, well, that he just told me to do that, so I'm going to do it, but I don't really believe in it and I don't have a say. So yes, that's my green flag.
That's green as hell. I have time for a bonus green flag?
Bonus flag.
Do, 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 do. A trainer who is eating disorder informed. I don't think the fitness industry is eating disorder educated or informed enough. I didn't say somebody who a running coach who specializes in mental health therapy or eating disorder specialty. I said somebody who is informed and educated enough to know the signs. And for those who do, because there are those who do know the signs and will still collect coin from a new client because they're coming to them. That's that shit that makes my piss boil. So a green flag is the one who can, based on everything we said today, is able to see the whole human. And a part of the whole human is our relationship with food, weight, exercise, our body. And I think that we need to do a better job as a fitness industry in the running community in educating folks on what is a health promoting behavior versus a harmful behavior.
Yeah, I think that's super important. I love that. And having that education as a coach in fitness provider in this world is super important. But also like being able to have conversations and help athletes cut back when they need to. And also like being willing to, like you said, like some coaches will just keep collecting that coin even though they know this is going in a bad direction. Green flag coaches are ones who say, hey, we can take a break for a little bit, like we can pause while you work through this stuff, but also like that means you're still checking in, right? Like we're still like, I think athletes feel like when a coach says we should pause something like that, they're giving up on them and abandoning them. Don't be that kind of coach. Like you don't have to be as involved as you were when you're working together, but like still be involved, still check in, still make sure they know you're their coach if they're on a break, because you're supporting them through things like this. But like to your larger point, having some ability to notice these signs and not ignore them purposefully just because it's easier. Your job is to take care of a human being, right? Like you're responsible for them. I am very picky in who providers I will recommend to my athletes, and they know why I'm picky. They know, hey, you only have a short list. I'm like, I know. Like it doesn't mean I don't tell, like if they go to someone else, I'm not going to not support them, but I pick people who vibe with my style of coaching, who vibe with the messaging I want my athletes to be, and who I know have educated in the right way to support them, either as a physical therapist or a registered dietitian. And so for me, my network is closed to that because I'm protective of them, because as a coach, you're taking care of this human being, that when they see other providers who come in and out, you're still taking care of them the whole time, right? So for me, it's important to still feel like I need to know what I need to know. I need to know who can provide the information I need, and I need to take care of this person.
I'm the same as you. The circle of trust is small, but fruitful.
Ooh, fruitful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fruitful. Specifically, the Honeycrisp apple.
The only good apple.
We don't have any bougie apples up in this bitch. Okay.
But
we're not playing around.
Well, Honeycrisp apples have been mass produced, and I only like them in fall. But I won't get into this whole thing here.
Don't do that.
I know.
Don't do that.
We're gonna get Honeycrisp apple enthusiasts in our DMs.
This podcast can go on for as long as it needs to. I stand by my statement.
Send all your negative Honeycrisp comments to Nick Listava. Did we do it?
We done did it.
We did it. What a great episode. Longest episode ever.
Guys, this one may make your medium to long run happen.
Yeah. Well, I think we had a great episode. We talked about, we had a great conversation about red flags and green flags of coaching. We gave you a little feedback on what coaching is. We gave you a little insight into what's going on in our lives and talked a little bit about all this Boston qualifying drama. We had a listener review, and we had a great question and answer, questioning, female coaches coaching male athletes and vice versa. So, I think it was a great episode. I loved it.
I loved it more. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and you can reach out to us at any time between that's TWO coaches @gmail.com or in thy DM, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.